Bernie, oh, baby. Johnny Mack and Eddie Kratz not going to Dallas. Hey, it's that time of year. They got family. I get it. But hey, we'll find out if Gayle Saunders will be there. He joins us here on the Football Playbook right now. Good morning, Gayle. How are you today?
Good morning, man. I'm being smart. I'm staying local. You know, I can't let down the family. Got to be around on Christmas. But Christmas is definitely on the line this week.
Christmas is on the line, and not to mention this cyclone bombs waving through the country. I mean, you could get stranded in the airport all weekend. Who the heck wants to do that? So I don't blame you. Uh, I thought the game lost a little bit of luster with, Eagles, Dallas, both clinching, Jalen hurt. But bragging rights, I know the fans are still going to be fueled up, fired up, ready to go.
I mean, the fans that I've talked to are still fired up. I think the Minshew Mania stands have popped up. Throughout all the social media posts I put out there, I've seen a lot of excitement on their end. Overall, I just think Eagle fans have had this one circled a long time. Jalen's not playing. The situation couldn't have been better for him to have a breakout performance versus the Cowboys. I know he probably wanted to play this game, but hey, it is what it is. Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, Christmas Eve. Can't get better. Can't get better than this.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, man, it really Minshew Mania is a real thing, man. I mean, people are excited about this. Did you see Jordan Mailata? He had a little bit of fun in the press conference. He kind of posed that as a reporter.
Yeah.
Hey, the fans want the mustache. The fans want the mustache, and Gardner. I call him Flint, which is his middle name. I feel like I'm hanging out with one of my surfer buddies here at the Jersey Shore. He's so cool, right? Oh man, we'll see what we can do. Next thing I know, our guy Tone DeShields, the super producer, he's tweeting out Minshew getting off the plane in the Top Gun jacket and the Fu Manchu. I think it's back.
Yeah. Shout out to my boy Chris Nady. He is actually he's a big fan of Minshew's. Also has he holds like a big sign. Minshew usually goes up to him after the games. And he has
right. Every game he's been doing that.
It pretty much he finds the he has a banner for him, and then he has the jacket. He has the Minshew jacket. He has the Fu Manchu. He's got the headband, which Gardner Minshew gave him personally. So
yeah, I think I've seen him actually.
Yeah. He's heading out to Dallas. So I mean, the Eagle fans are heading out there, the crazy ones.
Well, let me ask you about that, because I know the Cowboys fan base is kind of weakened over the years. They kind of lost the title of America's team to the Patriots about 15, 20 years ago, as far as I'm concerned. But hey, I noticed they don't travel as well, or we don't have as many of them here in our area for the Eagles home games. But can we put a percentage on it? Do the Bird Gang travel well? I know it's probably a hard ticket to come by down there in Dallas.
I think it's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be I'd say it could be a 20%, 25% Eagle fans in there, 30. I mean, it's Christmas Eve, so it's really. I have a couple friends from El Paso. Shout out to my boy Steve. He's coming up there with his sister and her sister's boyfriend, and they're leaving on his grandmother's birthday, which is they're choosing the Eagles Dallas game over their grandmother's birthday.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, right?
Crazy Eagle fans. I said the crazy Eagle fans will be there.
So it'll sound like 50% is what you're telling me.
We'll see.
We got Gayle Saunders here, fourthandjawn.com. Of course, the tailgate takeover coming January 1st for the Saints game. We'll get into that. We'll get into, you guys have been asking about the details, the location, where you need to go. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll answer them all at the end of this segment. But let me ask you, though, about Minshew on the field, because, I mean, what the irony is, Mike Leach passes away. It's a short week, Christmas Eve, Saturday game. Monday, he's at the funeral giving a eulogy.
Mm-hmm.
Here he is now getting ready to take on the Cowboys. And I heard him say during the media portion, he said, every time I take the field, it's like the legacy of Mike Leach carries on. And I don't think Minshew has to go out here and win the game, because you've got two yak monsters and well, 3 now with the return of Dallas Goedert. But find AJ Brown and Devonta Smith on the slants. Get it in Goddard's hands and let him do his thing with the ball after the catch. But I mean, is that kind of how you see it here? Just come out, manage the game, and good things and big things should happen.
I think, managing the game and being smart with the football. Talk about him missing the walkthrough practice to speak at Mike Leach's funeral, and just being inspired, talking about how what he's meant to him as not just a football player, but off the field as a man. I think he's going to play some inspired ball on Christmas Eve. But I think talk about those weapons. He's got the perfect weapons to really do the damn thing this weekend. You talk about Dallas Goedert. One of his biggest games came with Gardner Minshew when they played the Jets. So he's very familiar with his targets, even though he's in practice most of the time. But they said he's had one of the best practices. The ball didn't hit the ground at the last practice on was it Wednesday or Thursday. So I feel like he's got all the weapons.
Yeah, and I think it's an opportunity well deserved. You hear about how hard he's worked on the scout team, giving the defense special looks. I heard Jonathan Gannon say the other day, like, a couple of players came out and weren't exactly prepared, and Gardner kind of made them look silly on a few occasions throughout the year on the scout team. And I think he's got the perfect demeanor. He's not too far off from Jalen. I think Gardner's more of a showmanship. Like, he gets the entertainment element, and he'll give you a little smoke and gun out on the field. But he does have 30 starts. They asked him about the Dallas rivalry and if he noticed that the last go around. He said, certainly, you can feel a different energy when you step out on the field. But he said, at the end of the day, like, it's just a football game, right? So, like, he's got the demeanor, he's got the experience. He's actually very efficient, 41 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. So I think they're going to be okay there. Dan Quinn said he expected kind of like 20% different, type of offensive scheme. Let me ask you this. By the way, did you ever wind up making it out there to Chicago?
I didn't. Okay. I chose to go to a Christmas play with the family. And I was building gingerbread houses and
got the pain on the face when you said it, though. That was funny.
No, but I actually shout out to Philly Sports Trip. So I was at their Christmas party, and I asked them. I said, "Hey, how's Chicago?" Because I was still feeling it. They said it was the worst experience they had in terms of going to the games this year. They said it was freezing. It was around 15 degrees. They said you made it the perfect choice, but I'm not going. So I feel better.
So did you hear this at all? Because I didn't hear it reported too much on the mainstream, but I know Miles Sanders fumbled. There's been a lot of complaints. Why didn't Miles get more touches? He only had 11 carries. First of all, they only ran 7 plays in the first half. But then he put the ball on the carpet, and I heard Sirianni was chewing into him on the sidelines for not running hard and leaving yards out there on the table. Like, Gainwell got 29 reps. I don't think that was a coincidence. Did you hear anything about that?
Well, I mean, I heard, like a couple of people mentioned that and noticed that it didn't look like he had the juice, like the juice that we're used to seeing. And the fact that, not all players are created equal in these type of elements, like some players are not built for the cold, but at the end of the day, you need that. And it's funny because when I had met with Coach Singleton, the running backs coach for the Eagles, and I had mentioned to him, I said, "Hey man, I just want to give a hat tip for you." I say, none of your backs have fumbled. So he looks at me, he's like, "Oh," yeah. I was like, "All right, I'll run and hit some wood." So I run up to the podium in the meeting room, and I hit on the wood. But that was like 3 weeks ago. So I'm, you can't blame this one on me. But overall, like, Miles Sanders, who had his fumble rate coming out of Penn State was pretty high. He's pretty much secured the football, and I think that's one of the main thing for Coach Singleton for his players is to secure the football. So, he had a bad game in terms of he had a bad fumble.
So do they go back to Miles now, or is it more running back by committee where Gainwell continues to eat into those reps? What do you think this week?
You go back to you go back to Miles Sanders. I mean, I think it's a perfect opportunity to let loose. I mean, we're in a dome. You're talking about the situations from last week, the frozen tundra of Chicago, and now a nice cush dome with no elements affecting their game. Should be a different style of weather that they're used to as of late. So I think perfect opportunity to run the football.
Talking to Gayle Saunders, fourthandjawn.com here on the Football Playbook. Ric Serritella, by the way, in the Rutgers shirt. I'm laughing at the real Zeal who says, I don't know what I'm talking about. No, it's the Philadelphia media doesn't report what they should be. And Gayle, man, go watch a Dallas press conference. These guys are ruthless. I mean, they make the Philadelphia media look like Barnum Bailey. I mean, I'm not even kidding. They got Mike McCarthy sweating bullets, Dak Prescott looking like a nervous Nelly, like 40 minutes of rapid fire gun. Like Mike McCarthy is under the gun. And you know what's funny is like also the Philadelphia media didn't pick up on any of this stuff either. Like Mike McCarthy basically said the same exact thing that Micah Parsons said by saying it's a system. Like Jalen Hurts supporting cast is what makes him. So like, you know, he said the same exact thing. Dan Quinn said the same exact thing. We had Jimmy Johnson on this network here this week, said the same exact thing. And Mike McCarthy actually doubled down. I thought he was messing with our heads, Gayle, because he actually doubled down and said the biggest factor over the years when we play the Eagles, and he referenced Dak Prescott's 26-6 record against the NFC East. But he said it not one time, but two times, which tells me he wanted to rattle, shake, rattle, and roll a little bit. He said the biggest difference between us and the Eagles over the last several years has been the quarterback differential. He said the play from the quarterback has been the biggest reason why we've had so much success against the Philadelphia Eagles. So everybody's saying it. It's just that only the media chose to pick up on Micah's comments.
Yeah. You know, well, I mean, that's just adds a little spice to this Christmas Eve game. I think this team, if you just seen them, how they've interacted the whole season or off the field at some of their events, they all come out for each other. They all are backing one another. You know, whether it be a softball game for Devontae Smith or you know, an event Jalen Hurts had for the kids, a free event that he had there. You know, guys show up and then they rally around the troops, man.
There is a special camaraderie, though. It definitely echoes. You can tell it reverberates through the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a close-knit crew. It really is. And by the way, did you see the article by Connor Orr in Sports Illustrated this week on Shane Steichen? You should definitely check it out.
No, I have not.
Yeah, he goes really, really in-depth on just the evolution of Shane Steichen and going back to his grassroots and working underneath Phillip Rivers, who was like 3 years older than him, and he was the OC, and Austin Collie was his college teammate. Like Steichen, I had no idea, played, I think, college ball at UNLV. He was the quarterback. Collie was the receiver, but an ankle injury ruined his football playing career, and he got right into coaching. And Austin Collie said, like, this guy's relentless from a game preparation standpoint. He's like Peyton Manning. Obviously, Collie was around Peyton Manning. And they say this guy, he sits around, like, in his spare time, not that he has a lot of it, he just sits around in the room and tries to, like, conjure up offensive plays that never been invented before. And you saw that last week. They did the whole offensive line shift, and then Cam Jurgens got the defense to jump off sides, know. So like I've never seen that before. The rugby scrum with the goal line and everything that he's doing. Like Shane Steichen is probably going to get a head coaching job.
Well, think about his what they did with Micah Parsons last time. You know, talk about how do we attack? How do we deal with Micah Parsons? You know, defensive player of the year potentially. Leave the man unblocked, put him in a blender, use Jalen's athletic ability. You got had AJ Brown going in motion and put him in a blender. I mean, it's going to be a different style this week, but I'm saying like Steichen is always coming up with new innovative ways to work with this offense.
Yeah, and you mentioned Micah. Like, I know Leighton Vander Esch is out, and so we had our guy Kyle Yeomans from Cowboys.com on, and he said most likely Micah will play more linebacker than defensive end now to kind of compensate for the loss of their linebackers are thin, their cornerbacks. Kelvin Joseph, Dan Quinn was very outspoken about Kelvin Joseph's job really being kind of up for grabs. They signed Trayvon Mullen a couple weeks ago from the Raiders, a former top round pick. So that nickelback for Dallas is very vulnerable. Unfortunately, that whole Quez Watkins slot bubble screen, I mean, they asked Gannon about it too this week. He didn't even want to answer it. He's like, I'll talk to you about that off the record.
Yeah. I think their cornerback situation, since Anthony Brown has went down, when he got injured at the time, I remember when he got hurt, I called up some friends. I'm like, hey, man, I'm just saying this is the injury that shifts Dallas's defense, I think. Here we are weeks later, and it's exactly where teams have been attacking. You're talking about Kelvin Joe. I didn't really actually like that pick when they brought him up, but they threw him to the fire, and he's not done. He hasn't played too hot, so I think that's an area that you definitely want to attack. So they're really trying to put Band-Aids over there. So I'm excited about that. I mean, even Diggs, he's a guy who's made some big plays, but he's also a guy who gives up some big plays. So
yeah, Diggs is a gambler. You got to live by the sword and die by the sword with him because, he's good, but he'll get burnt because he's aggressive. And, that's kind of his style of play. Now, by the way, the bird flu's running down that whole Dallas roster. There's a handful of guys. I heard Mike McCarthy say in his press conference, there's a handful of guys, the players, their families, their kids. There's this flu running around. And Micah and Diggs actually both popped up on the injury report as questionable due to illness. Now, I don't think they're going to really miss any time, but there is, this is a beat up team. Like, listen, Vander Esch is out. Terrence Steele is out. Luckily, They got Tyler back, but Jonathan Hankins, who they signed a couple weeks, he's on the IR. Dorrance Armstrong popped up as questionable. Like, this is not the healthiest team right now, the Dallas Cowboys, that is.
I mean, if you talk to Cowboys fans, they'll tell you about, they're dealing with some issues with their pass rush. Hasn't been the same. We just mentioned how, they might be using Micah more, linebacker role. Their pass rush hasn't really been getting home as much. I mean, their offensive line, you talk about 19 sacks. I mean, that's best in the league right now. But they gave up some sacks last week. You talk about JP gave up one, and Smith gave up one to, I believe, Arden Key. So, I mean, they're susceptible off the edges. I think you really can get to them. We're talking about, our front they've been relentless. You're talking about
best in the league.
You talk about 6 sacks against who was it? The Bears. They had 7 sacks versus the Giants, and then we had
3 straight weeks. 3 straight weeks. I think you got to go back to
Titans 6 sacks as well. So
it was like the first time in a long time that they've done that. By the way, speaking of the pass rush, I also saw Sam Williams, their defensive end, was rushed to the hospital this week. He got into a car accident. So a lot of things happening with that Dallas Cowboys team. And hey, we're running out of time. We're going to get to the tailgate takeover information. We'll get that out there. First, we got to get a Cowboys prediction, Gayle. I think Vegas is misreading the situation. Dallas had actually come out and were favorites to begin with before we knew about the Jalen Hurts injury. They were like 1 or 2 point favorites. Now I think it's up to like 5 or 6. This tells me Vegas, when it comes to the Eagles, is more casual. I don't think they've been paying attention. I think the Eagles have a very legitimate shot of winning this ball game. How do you see it?
I have the number I'm seeing in my head is I'm seeing 31 points, 31-24. I think regardless of Minshew or Hurts, that this offense is pretty explosive. The offensive line is pretty damn good. You're talking about Pro Bowlers all across the board. I think they're up for the challenge. I think again, you talk about the elements. This is luxury they're playing in a dome this week. So you're going to see a different run game, different approach. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I just think they might hit a buzzsaw just like they did when they came to Philly. They looked pretty exposed in the first half. We lost Lane Johnson for the second half. Very conservative with the offense. That was some issues right there with Micah Parsons and Lane Johnson being out. So hey, we're in their house, and I think we're going to bring it.
No, I agree with you. I can't wait for it. It's going to be so much fun to watch on Christmas Eve. It's all going down. And so let's talk about the tailgate takeover. By the way, when you come by next week, JAKIB Sports has a network-issued mandate. If Gardner Minshew wins, you have to come back with the Fu Manchu next week. So we'll be getting ready, though, for the Football Playbook tailgate takeover with Fourth and Jawn down there. For the Saints game at the link. We invite everybody to come out. I know a lot of you in the chat room have been asking about exactly where is parking lot G. Will they need a parking pass to enter the tailgate? I know everything you said is free. We're going to have tomato pies, cheesesteaks, beers. Just pull up, show up, come hang with the crew. Where exactly is it? Because I tried to describe it, Gayle, exactly where that parking lot G is.
It's right outside of the Xfinity Live. It's right by we're right on the grass. It's parking lot G2. You can't miss it. People do miss it, but we're right on the grass. You'll see the Fourth and Jawn flag, and you just show up, just pull up. It's always free. We're sponsored by Bud Light and Consi Italian Bakery. So I mean, and then we make our own cheesesteaks at our tailgate. So it's really a good atmosphere, to meet a bunch of Eagle fans right before the game, diehards. You just want to have a good time.
I'm looking forward to it.
We get Eagle fans from all over the world that come. A lot of them, it's their first game ever at the link, and it's just a really good experience. But I think the vibes will be flowing. The tomato pies will be flowing.
Oh, baby.
Cheesesteaks. I don't know how you like your cheesesteak, but we'll work it out.
Yeah, just no mushrooms. Everything else is all good.
Onions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Peppers, onions, all that. So, all right. So that's the deal. We'll be down there January 1st. Look for the Fourth and Jawn sign. Is there a Winnebago? Is there something we should look out for? What time do you guys usually set up down there?
I set up there. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning, but if you're a morning person, we make a little breakfast for ourselves. But like if you're around, we spread the wealth.
Okay.
But about 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, that's when the party is set off. But whenever you want to come by, we'll entertain you. So we start as soon as the gates.
I'll be there, man. Full metal, Gardner Minshew's coming Top Gun style. I'm coming Full Metal Jacket style. So buckle up.
I want to see the Fu Manchu setup.
You know what? It just might happen. Should Minshew do it? It just might happen. So we shall see. Enjoy the weekend. Merry Christmas to you and the Sanders family, Gayle, and always appreciate the time, my man. We'll keep it locked over there to the Fourth and Jawn podcast and all the great things on the website.
All right, man. Merry Christmas to you guys. I'll see you guys soon.
Yep. Gayle Saunders here, good friend of the show here on the Football Playbook. Ric Serritella here with you today, 2 days away until the Christmas showdown, the throwdown. And when we come back, we're going to take a quick commercial break, pay some bills. The chat room is flowing. The eggnog is rolling. And our good friend Mike Gill is going to check in. I got so offensive orientated with Gayle there. We'll go on the opposite end of the spectrum, talk a little bit about the defense. Woo! The sack pack, RIC, Mike Gill. It's all coming up right after this.